What's up, guys? We're back, and today we're going to be going over the Big 12 conference tournament predictions. As usual, just get straight into it with West Virginia versus Texas Tech. West Virginia, it's been one of the not hotter teams, but they've definitely been consistently average this year in the Big 12. Recently, they have won their three of their last four. Their only loss coming to Kansas, which makes sense, and they barely lost to Kansas. And then they beat Oklahoma State before that, and then beat Iowa State and Kansas State after that. Three very good wins, but the last two are definitely very good. They got a solid overall team. You know, they got Trey Mitchell, they got Joe Toussaint, Eric Stevenson. While Texas Tech does, I would say, have the better lineup with Pop Isaacs, Kevin O'Banner, Devion Harmon, Fardas Amac. I would still say that West Virginia is probably the better team, and that's who I'm going to go with here, just because they've been more consistent over this season. While Texas Tech has just recently kind of started to heat up, but they've also still been kind of inconsistent at that. We got Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. Honestly, any of these Big 12 games could go either way because the worst team in the conference, Oklahoma, is is still one of the best teams in college basketball. I mean, they're not like one of the top 40 or anything, but I'd say they're probably top 60. You know, they're definitely still a solid team. And they won two of their last three. They beat Iowa State and TCU. Oklahoma State has also kind of not fallen off, but they've hit a little rough spot. You know, they lost to TCU, West Virginia, Kansas State, and Baylor. Only recent win being at Texas Tech, which is a solid win, but again, it's also Texas Tech, who's one of the worst teams in the conference, record-wise. So, um, I feel like I'm probably going to go Oklahoma State here, but Oklahoma University has been probably more consistent recently. And they have that go-to guy in Grant Sherfield. So I'm honestly actually going to go with Oklahoma. I came into this thinking I was going to pick Oklahoma State, but now that I really think about it and look at it, I'm going to pick Oklahoma here. That brings us to Kansas versus West Virginia. Kansas, one of the top, I would say, four teams in all of college basketball, probably top two. Um, they just have such a really good team. Um, they've been playing really well. 13-5 in the conference, 25-6 overall. Only like bad loss for them is they don't really have. I mean, I'd say probably Iowa State isn't looking too good now, but that's still it's a fine loss. Being in the best conference in college basketball this year and being still very dominant is just enough to say about Kansas's ability just to be a great team. So I got them moving past West Virginia pretty easily. There is some upset potential here, but against Kansas, I don't see it. That brings us to Baylor versus Iowa State. Uh, Both of these teams, I'm a little iffy on, but I'm definitely more iffy on Iowa State just because they've been very inconsistent this season and they've had some really good wins, but they've also had some really bad losses. I mean, nothing's been awful for them since it is the Big 12, but it's noticeable that they've only won two of their last 8 games, and yes, those were solid wins against TCU and Baylor, especially recently. That Baylor win is very good for them, but they lost to Oklahoma before that. They lost to West Virginia both times they played them. Lost to Oklahoma State both times they played them. So they've been just very up and down the season. They can beat Kansas and Texas, but then they can also lose to the bottom two teams. So you know they're not someone I would say I'm confident in going into the March Madness tournament. Um, Now, on the other hand, Baylor, they still have kind of slowed down recently, but I would say that they're definitely more consistent than Iowa State. Um, and they have probably the better overall team. They got Keontae George, great freshman form. They got Adam Flagler there, veteran point guard, along with LJ Cryer. They still got Jalen Bridges, Flo Thamba, Jonathan, however you say his last name. I haven't looked at it enough. But yeah, I feel like Baylor's just been more consistent, so I feel like I got to go with them to beat Iowa State. Iowa State also just got rid of Caleb Grill because of like he guess he was ruining chemistry or something weird. So that's not a key piece, but a very good piece for them, a starting player. not on the team anymore. So that's gonna probably hurt them a little bit, I would say, at least at first. Then we got Texas versus Oklahoma. Texas is probably one of my favorite teams in all of college basketball this season. I just really like watching them play. They got a really good team, got a pretty deep team too. They got depth. I'd say the only thing they're lacking is like a true, like not a true center, but like good center. You know, I mean Dylan Dessou. They got a good rotation of Dylan Dessou, Christian Bishop, and Dylan Mitchell sometimes play center. But I just feel like sometimes those three aren't going to be enough to hold down, some of the best centers in all of college basketball. But against Oklahoma, they have Tanner Groves, but he's not one of the best centers in all of college basketball. So Texas should be fine there. And their backcourt of Tyrese Hunter and Marcus Carr can definitely get them far in this tournament. I got them definitely beating Oklahoma. And we got Kansas State versus TCU. Both teams kind of been inconsistent. Kansas State's definitely been better recently. They won 4 of their last 5. Well, TCU's only won 3 of their last 5, and one of those was a loss to Oklahoma, which isn't great. But they also did beat Texas right before that, so that's a good win for them. They got Damian Baugh, Manuel Miller, obviously got Mike Miles, who I think has not been underperforming this season, but I think he might have been injured. So he's just coming back into the rotation after that. And then Kansas State, has a dynamic duo of Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel. Kansas State has potential to win this entire tournament, but they also have potential to lose in the first round. And especially against TCU, I feel like TCU is going to beat them. I don't know why, I just getting a feeling, It's got TCU winning that one. Then we got Kansas versus Baylor. This is a great matchup. Both teams, again, very, very good. Whenever they played each other, they've split the series. Baylor won the first time, and then Kansas won the next time. Both won on their home courts. I feel like Kansas probably has a better chance of winning here, but it really depends on who's hot because either one could win. And honestly, I feel like going in this game, Baylor's probably going to be the hotter team, and I got them beating Kansas as just, small upset. Then we got Texas versus TCU. As much as I would want to see TCU go on a little bit of a run against Texas, I feel like Texas is just too good of a team. Although the only thing I would say about Texas is that one, their center rotation is weak at times. They've also been slightly inconsistent. And very, very recently, they've been in their last 8, they lost 4, won 4, so that's not great, but it is also the Big 12, so it's nothing horrible. They did also just beat Kansas, so that's a very good win. It's just been up and down very recently, but I'd say that it's not going to affect them long term. And against TCU, I feel like they can definitely get it done. Got Baylor versus Texas in the final matchup. And here again, I feel like Texas is just, although they've been slightly inconsistent and they did just lose off to Baylor, they also beat them before. So split the series. It's really just who I feel is going to, the backcourt of Texas is better. Well, actually, that's kind of close. The backcourt of Baylor might be better just because it's Flagler and Keontae George. If you're looking at like the 2 of their best guards, while Texas is Tyrese Hunter and Marcus Carr. But I feel like Jabari Rice is probably better than LJ Cryer. And I don't know whose bigs are probably better. Timmy Allen for Texas is obviously very good, but then Baylor also has Jalen Bridges and Flo Thamba in them. So, yeah, this game is going to be very, very good if it happens. And I think I'm going to go with Texas. I feel like I just like them more. I like the way they play more. So I'm a little more confident in them as I just have seen them play a little bit more. I've been watching the Big 12 all year, though, so got a good enough kind of look on how it's going to be. So, yeah, that is all for my Big 12 bracket predictions. Got Texas winning it all. And, yeah, if you want to check out any of my other conference tournament predictions, they're all on my channel. Posted every one that started before this. I think there's probably like 28 up now, or this will be the 28th. So, yeah, you got a lot to choose from. Other than that, we'll see you guys later.